Freedom. We love freedom. But what is it? What is freedom? The first writing award I ever won was in fourth grade. And I wrote an essay on what it means to be an American. Schools and churches and media make freedom this gigantic thing, and we've gone to war over it. Like almost every time the United States has ever gone to war, the topic has been about freedom, right? We went to free the Vietnamese. We went to rescue the Europeans in World War One, which that was completely a good idea. We should have got involved in World War II sooner, probably, but that's beyond the scope of this. And freedom is like this huge, huge thing for us, which is highly ironic considering that what our founders considered was that landowning white men should be free and everybody else should follow God's plan. So I did a class on Martin Luther. Not Martin Luther King, Martin Luther, the first one. And, the link for that class is in the notes here somewhere. And there was this idea that God, and I, again, not saying I'm Christian, I'm not saying but in the Luther class, because Luther was very definitely a Christian, he said that God gives us freedom. You have all the freedom you could possibly want, right? That was the gift that God gave us. But that by choosing things, we choose to limit our own freedom. When I chose to be a writer, I chose not to become something else. I can only do, a limited number of things. We can all only do a limited number of things. Someday it'll be great if technology makes it possible for us to be all good at everything. That'd be lovely. But at the moment, your choices choose who you become. And once you've made that choice, you're always free to go choose something else. It's not going to be the same as it was. Your choices limit your freedom. That's just how it is. Once I paint on a canvas, it's not a blank canvas anymore. And while I can paint over it, it's still not going to be a blank canvas. So, do check out that class. That class is really good. And as far as political freedom, right? I also put a link for the Magna Carta, which is pretty much the foundation of modern Western ideas about liberty. And what is freedom is a really hard question to answer. What do people usually mean when they say, I love my freedom? They mean that they think that they're not controlled, although they are controlled by their choices. They are controlled by the society that we live in, and we have to be. If we didn't have societal controls, if we didn't have things like the Magna Carta that set the compacts between us, we wouldn't be human anymore. What makes us human, what allows us to have society and build things and take ideas from one generation to another, what allows all of the things that we love about being human, like indoor water and vaccines and not dying when we're 30, all of these things that we love, including other things like wine and beer and movies and for that matter, good sex, everything that we love rests on the social compact of how we agree to treat each other, of what we consider to be our norms. Without those, that's just really, really awful. And I don't want to live in that world. You don't want to live in that world. So we agree on social compacts. Those social compacts limit our freedom. but they also limit the freedom of other people, right? And, I don't want to walk down the street and have somebody think that I look like good fried bacon, right? We don't want to eat each other. We don't want to hurt each other, because if we don't hurt each other, nobody's hurting us. That's the deal with social compacts. So, it's one of the other notes I put in the links for today is just the British Empire. Yesterday was 4th of July, and when I was in grade school, high school, they always talked about the 13 colonies, right? Well, there were a lot more colonies than that. The British Empire was not just these 13 colonies. It was Canada and the Caribbean and Africa and India. The British Empire had many, many colonies. It wasn't just these 13 right here. Only these 13 were the only ones that decided it would be a good idea to tell the British to go to hell. We'll take on the Spanish by ourselves. And at the time, the Spanish Armada had they were the biggest naval power in the world, and they currently, at that time, they owned Florida. So it was, the rest of the world looked at us and like, they're going to be speaking Spanish soon. That's what it looked like. And this whole thing about taxation without representation, that wasn't really a thing either. I mean, we didn't have great representation, but we could have worked that out. And the taxation that they did was they took a penny tax on sugar and they made it a penny tax on sugar collected in a different way. Who cares, right? And what did we care about in leading up to the American Revolution? What did we care about? Well, we cared a great deal about the British just made slavery illegal in England. Yeah, we didn't want that over here. We also cared a great deal about the British having come to a treaty with the Native Americans, and they were kicking white American settlers off land and telling them to get off Indian land. We cared a lot about that. Those aren't nice things, though. Those aren't the things that people kind of get behind and feel okay saying that they're getting behind. So, you have to modulate your message if you want people to coalition with you, right? You have to make it so that they feel good about coalitioning with you. And so it became taxation without representation. And, well, what freedom? I think about it a lot. I think about what is freedom? What kind of freedom, what kind of culture, what kind of compacts do I want us to make so that we treat each other well? Usually when I make these videos, I have an answer. I want to lead up to something. I know very well how to start a story or how to get a story going again or how to set up a character. But I'm much less sure about what freedoms are important. Obviously freedom of press, freedom of religion. But there's also other freedoms, like the freedom to not die. We're not so good at that one here in the U.S. We're not so good for the freedom from poverty. We're real good at the freedom to own arms. Which, I like guns. Guns are fun. And everybody should know about them. Everybody should take a safety class. Everybody should be good at them, or at least competent at them. But put your ideas about what you think freedom is in the bottom here. Think about it. Don't just knee-jerk and say, freedom is the 4th of July. Freedom is America. Because it's not just about one class of people. It's about all of us. The only way we survive as a species is if we start taking care of all of us. All of us have to matter. There's not enough genetic pool if you just have white people. It's got to be all of us. And, there are going to be people who disagree about that. And, frankly, at one point the human species was down to a very small number and we bounced back. I think, and I don't have a citation for this. I'd have to find one, and I've got too much other stuff to do. That at one point we got down to like 2,000 people. And we bounced back. We're fine. We probably picked up some Neanderthal genes along the way, though. And I don't know. It still just kind of makes me sad that we chase freedom, but we don't know what it is, and we are not willing to take care of each other along the way. So, anyways, tomorrow will be a more cheerful topic. Maybe I'll tell you a story tomorrow. And you are awesome. Take good care of yourself. Create lots of things. And have a good weekend.